This happened 3 years ago. I was 36 and trying to keep my carpentry business alive in our quiet village. People were leaving, more houses were empty, and it felt eerie. I didn't like the silence. It hung around like a thick fog. One afternoon, while fixing a neighbor's fence, I found something strange burrowed in the ground. I dug with my hands and uncovered an old journal. It was worn and dusty, but the handwriting was frantic. As I read, I felt a chill. The journal told of a man who made a deal with the devil. Bad luck had befallen our village since then. I should have buried it again, but I couldn't resist. Things in my workshop turned odd. Tools started vanishing. I knew I'd left my hammer on the shelf, but it would be gone without a trace. I thought I heard whispers, sometimes just outside, sometimes echoing inside my head. I dismissed them at first. Shadows danced in the corners of my vision too. I tried to shake it off. I wanted to know more. I asked the elderly villagers, but they looked scared, uneasy. "Leave him alone," they warned. "It's better not to know." But I pushed them. They changed the subject. I thought they were just being superstitious. Nights grew darker and more restless. One evening, I sat in my workshop when I heard a voice. It whispered my name. My heart pounded in my chest. I stepped outside, expecting someone to be there. The village was quiet, and I felt a chilling presence in the air, as if eyes were watching me from across the shadows. I turned to go back inside, but I saw movement near the trees. It was just a bird, or maybe a trick of my mind. The next morning I found something scratched into my workbench. "Beware." The letters were deep, jagged. I felt ice run through my veins. What was I dealing with? Were the old tales true? I wished I hadn't read that journal. I clung to it, hoping to find a way to end our village's suffering. But every page only made it worse. With each chapter, my dread grew. Part of me thought the truth was buried with that man. I glanced around the workshop frequently, feeling lost and trapped. One night, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, something clicked in my mind. I heard a voice again. "You have come looking for answers." I turned around quickly, breath hitching. No one was there. I felt erratic. I had opened something I shouldn't have. I felt trapped in a web of my own curiosity. Things spiraled from there. I couldn't sleep. I ran into the villagers and they looked at me with pity and fear. I realized that no one was safe. The Pact had cast a shadow over all of us. The whispers grew louder, echoing through my dreams and waking moments. What had I gotten myself into? My life was changing and I was scared of what lay ahead. I wanted to close the journal and forget, but I couldn't. I had to see it through, whatever the cost. The next day, I woke early, determined to uncover more about the dark history hidden in that journal. I could feel the weight of its presence beside me. The whispers were louder than ever, tugging at my thoughts like an urgent call. I decided to visit the library, a small dusty building that had seen better days. Perhaps there were records or accounts that could shed light on the man in the journal. As I walked through the deserted streets, an uneasy feeling settled in my stomach. The village was too quiet. Just ahead, I saw the library's door slightly ajar. I pushed it open, the creak echoing in the silence. Dust motes danced in the beams of sunlight streaming through the windows. The librarian, Mrs. Hargrove, was behind the counter, her eyes wide with surprise. "What brings you here?" she asked, voice trembling slightly. It was then I noticed the way her hands shook. I just want to look up something," I stammered, trying to mask my own fear. She nodded and gestured toward the shelves. I spent the next hour scanning the spines, but nothing felt relevant. Just as I began to lose hope, an old book caught my eye in the corner. It had no title and lay forgotten, covered in dust. I pulled it free and a cloud of dust erupted, filling my lungs. I coughed. Inside, there were records of past villagers, their lives chronicled decade by decade. I flipped through until I stumbled upon a name, Elias Jagger. It matched the tale from the journal. The ink was faded, but the words were stark. He had been a skilled craftsman, admired by all until he made a pact, a deal that cursed the village. Everything lined up, seeping dread into my bones. Suddenly, Mrs. Hargrove's voice broke through my thoughts. "You need to stop digging, you know." "Why?" I snapped, too much fear boiling over. "What happened to him?" Her expression shifted, her eyes filled with sorrow. "It is a story most don't want to remember. We lost so much when he came to town. If you keep searching, you'll bring that pain back." I ignored her warning. I needed to know what caused this darkness. After she left, I spent more time with the book. I found phrases about misfortune and the villagers' suffering culminating after Elias's last breath. I couldn't stop myself from thinking about the whispers and shadows that surrounded me. The realization hit me hard. If the village suffered because of Elias's choices, then perhaps his legacy was still here. I was deciding whether to return to that journal when an unfamiliar smell filled the air. It was burning, acrid. Panic surged through me. I rushed outside to find smoke rising from a house across the street. I watched in horror as flames devoured the roof. People gathered, but no one moved to help. Then I noticed something, a figure emerging from the smoke. It appeared to be a man, silhouetted against the flames, grinning. I felt my stomach drop. I wanted to scream, I wanted to run. But I was frozen, realizing that my curiosity had unleashed something far worse than I dreamed. That night, I would learn the price of digging too deep. There was no turning back now. I stumbled back, heart racing. The figure took slow steps, the smoke swirling around him like a shroud. He was cloaked in darkness, but the grin stretched across his face was unmistakable. It felt mocking. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. I was stuck, a spectator to something terrible. He vanished back into the smoke, and panic gripped me. I had to act. I dashed down the street, away from the gathering crowd. They huddled, murmuring, too mesmerized by the flames to notice me. I reached the edge of the village, where I had a clear view of the house. The fire roared, a hungry beast, and I felt drawn to it. I hesitated. Where had that man gone? Who was he? Thoughts spiraled in my mind. Was he connected to Elias Jagger? My legs moved before I could stop them. I had to find out. As I neared the chaos, a sickly sweet smoke filled my nostrils, and I fought the urge to gag as I covered my mouth with my sleeve. I rounded the corner and spotted a group of villagers standing awfully still. They stared at the fire, eyes glazed, mouths slightly parted. I called out to them, but no one responded. Something was wrong. Suddenly, a crack sounded behind me. I spun around to see the man again, now crouched low behind a pile of rubble, flames dancing at his back. He looked different, more human but less warm. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered sharply. "Don't get too close." I didn't understand. "Who are you?" I demanded, eyes narrowed. His grin faded, just for a moment, revealing a flicker of something deeper. Pain. Regret. "Someone who knows what lies beneath," he replied, almost sad. "You're tampering with forces beyond understanding." Forces beyond understanding? My mind raced back to the journal and the stories of Elias Jagger. Had I opened a door I couldn't close? "You're connected to him, aren't you?" I pressed, the words spilling out. "What happened?" "Every village needs a scapegoat," he replied cryptically, his gaze shifting back to the fire. "And every pact has a price." Before I could react, he hurried away into the shadows. There was something in his eyes, fear, anger. My heart raced, and I knew in that moment I had to get answers. I turned back to the blaze, but another sound caught my attention. A soft whisper floated on the air, calling my name, wrapping around my mind. I glanced back to the villagers. Their expressions had turned from hollow to menacing. They watched me now, their faces twisted, almost as if they recognized me as the one who dared to unearth the past. I staggered back, fear coursing through me. I realized then, this was more than just a fire. It was a reflection of the chaos I had unwittingly stirred. They were not just dealing with the flames, they were the flames. "Get out!" someone shouted, shaking me from my thoughts. It was Mrs. Hargrove, her face pale with fear as she raced toward me. "You have to leave now, it's not safe." I knew she was right, but something inside screamed for me to stay, to confront the truth. I started to back away, but I felt the pull of the shadows, the darkness beneath the flames. What would happen if I left? What would happen if I stayed? I turned, fleeing from the gathering dread, but the whispers persisted, growing louder, echoing in my mind like a chant. Then I heard it, a voice rising above the chaos. "You're not done yet." I stumbled, my pulse racing. What did that mean? I felt like I was being dragged deeper into a mystery I was not ready for, and there was no escape in sight. But now, one thing was clear. My search had only just begun. I ran. The air was thick with smoke, and the heat from the flames stung my skin. Mrs. Hargrove's warning echoed in my ears as I stumbled down the narrow lane, desperate to escape not just the fire, but the dawning realization that I had stumbled onto something much larger than myself. My heart pounded in my chest. What did that man know? Why did the villagers' faces twist into those expressions? I needed answers. But fear gripped me. It pulled at my mind like the shadows around the flames. I skidded to a stop near the old church, panting and scanning my surroundings. The whispers still rang in my ears, inviting and chilling all at once. A flicker of movement caught my eye. I turned just in time to see a dark figure dart behind the church. It was him, the man from the fire. I hesitated, wrestling with dread and curiosity. Was this a trap? But the need for understanding pushed me forward. I crept toward the entrance of the church, trying to stay quiet. Inside, the darkness felt alive. Dust motes floated in the narrow beams of light that pierced through the stained glass windows. I called out softly, "Hello?" But only silence answered. I took another step inside, the floorboards creaking beneath me. Then I saw it. A flickering candle on the altar, casting eerie shadows against the walls. And there he was, the man from before, standing by the altar, his back turned to me. He seemed to be deep in thought, tracing patterns in the air with his fingers. "Why are you hiding?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He tensed, but didn't turn. "You shouldn't have followed me." His voice was low and gravelly, echoing slightly in the hollow space. "Why? Because I might learn something," I replied, frustration bubbling up. "I deserve to know what happened back there." He turned slowly, and his eyes searched mine, assessing me as if weighing my worth. "Some truths are too heavy to bear," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Tell me," I urged, stepping closer. "Who are you? What did Elias Jagger do?" For a moment he hesitated. "Elias Jagger made a deal that cost many lives." His face twisted into a grimace. "He bound the village, and now—" He paused, glancing out of the dusty window and then back at me. "Now it feeds." What does that mean? Who does it feed on? My heart raced at the implications. The power drawn from the tragedies and sacrifices, it's insatiable. You woke it by asking questions. Before I could respond, a loud crash erupted outside. The ground shook beneath me, and dust rained down from the ceiling. "It's coming," he shouted, retreating further into the shadows. "You need to leave now." I flinched as fear surged through me again, but curiosity held me in place. That crash felt deliberate, a signal of something more. "What is coming?" I asked, trembling. "Everything you've set in motion," he said, his voice strained, "is about to break loose." Then everything went dark. I gasped and stumbled backward. The whispers morphed into a cacophony, pulling me again toward the flames. I had to face this. I had to confront the truth or risk losing everything. I had no choice now. That's when I saw it. A flicker of light racing toward me from the darkness, more than just shadows. It was a person. A figure draped in a cloak, one I recognized from my nightmares. "You're not finished yet," it hissed, stepping into the light. And my heart sank. I stumbled back, my breath hitching in my throat. The figure emerged fully from the shadows, its cloak swirling as if caught in a wind that didn't exist. I recognized the face hidden beneath the hood. It was the woman I had seen in my nightmares, her pale skin glistening, eyes bright like coins. "What do you want from me?" I asked, trying to sound defiant. But my voice shook. "You've already given it to me," she replied, a murmur that felt like ice sliding down my spine. "Your curiosity has opened the door." Before I could respond, the ground shook again, this time more violently. The candle on the altar flickered and died, casting us into darkness. "You have to understand," she continued, her voice rising above the chaos. "The village is bound to his will. You can't break it. You can only become part of it." I felt heat rising in my chest. "I won't let that happen," I shouted back. I needed to believe that I could change things, that I could save the people I loved. "You already are part of it," she hissed, stepping closer. Her breath was cold against my skin. "You asked questions no one should ask. You're wrapped up in his web now." Panic flooded my senses. "What do you mean, wrapped up in his web?" I needed her to clarify, though deep down I thought I already knew. I glanced behind me, searching for the man from earlier. Maybe he could help me understand this mess. "He will come for you, just as he has come for others. He craves your fear, your despair," she said, her voice growing stronger as if she thrived on my anxiety. "You cannot escape what you have unleashed." Suddenly the floor beneath me shuddered, and I lunged to stay upright. The walls of the church groaned, ancient wood straining against an unseen force. The woman's eyes seemed to glow, reflecting the chaos around us, pulling me deeper into the nightmare. I grabbed the back of a pew, forcing myself to stand firm. If this is true, then I'll fight back. I refuse to be a pawn in this. My declarations felt weak against the storm raging around me, but I couldn't let fear win. "Fight? There is no fighting the inevitable," she said almost pityingly. "You need to join us instead. Offer something precious and perhaps you can control what's coming." "Join you?" My stomach churned at the thought. What kind of offering? I can't sacrifice anyone. The idea made me sick. Not someone. Something. She paused, a grin stretching across her face that shouldn't belong in a moment like this. "What do you hold most dear? A life for a life? Or a truth that's too heavy to carry?" I forced the words out. "I don't know what you mean." But deep down, I started to realize the price of knowledge, the cost of my curiosity, might just be too high. As if summoned by my faltering spirit, a figure stepped into the flickering shadows behind her. The man I had seen before, eyes burning with intensity. "You're not safe here," he said, sounding urgent. "We need to go now." The woman turned slowly, and for a moment I was struck by her fury. "You may keep her this time, but understand that the moment you hesitate, she is his." My heart raced. I had no idea what was at stake. The choice stretched before me, and suddenly the darkness felt suffocating, pushing me toward an uncertain fate. "Come with me," the man pleaded, reaching out a hand toward me. I had to choose. I took a breath, my mind spinning. Could I trust him? Would I be willing to follow him into the unknown? And that's when I felt it, a pull from deep inside, a realization that everything was about to change. I opened my mouth to respond, but the ground shook violently again, and a final scream echoed through the church. Then, everything went black again. I woke up gasping. The cold stone floor beneath me jolted me back into reality. I blinked through the darkness, disoriented. Panic surged as I recalled the last moments before losing consciousness. The woman, the man, the whispers of dread filling the air. My heart raced as I scrambled to sit up, pushing myself from the ground. The church was eerily silent now. I could barely make out the outlines of the pews and the altar, but the flickering of candlelight was gone. I felt strangely alone, and that terrified me more than anything. "Hello?" My voice came out shaky, breaking the stillness. The word echoed around the church, bouncing off the walls as if mocking my courage. A heavy presence pressed against me, suggesting I wasn't as alone as I thought. I stood, searching the shadows for any sign of the man or the woman. "Where are you?" I whispered, but the answer came only in the form of silence. Suddenly, the door at the back of the sanctuary creaked open. I felt a wave of relief. "Is it you?" I called out, stepping toward the light pouring in. But as I got closer, my breath caught in my throat. It wasn't the man. It was someone else entirely, cloaked in darkness. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice tightening. "Just a traveler," replied a voice that dripped with sarcasm. It was playful, but I sensed something darker beneath it. "Didn't you hear? You've been waiting for me." I took a cautious step back. "No, I haven't. I'm not waiting for anyone." But my heart told me otherwise. I felt trapped in a web I couldn't see. He walked forward, revealing a face that twisted between charming and unsettling. "Oh, but you have. By embracing the unknown, you've invited so many things into your life. Your mistake is thinking you're still in control." I felt the ground tilt under my feet. "What do you mean?" He leaned closer, eyes glinting with mischief. "Do you know why the village is cursed? Do you know what it means to break a pact?" I felt a chill slip down my spine. A pact. 3 years ago, a man made a bargain for power, he said. He took a piece of the village's soul, and in return, he promised to protect it. His gaze turned serious. But power comes at a price. Panic threatened to erupt. What did he take? What did you take? My mind raced with possibilities, the weight of my curiosity cutting deeper than before. You. The word hung in the air, heavy with implication. You were chosen because you dared to question. You longed for answers. Before I could respond, the ground trembled again, harsher this time. I barely steadied myself. "What's happening?" "It's his doing," the man said with a smirk. "You'll find out soon enough. You're running out of time." I felt a pull, the same pull I had sensed earlier, urging me to choose. Could I face what was coming? Could I find a way to break this curse before it consumed me like so many others? Panic turned to resolve. I had to know. "Where do I start?" I asked, my voice steadier. He chuckled, a dark sound that sent chills through me. "You'll soon discover that the answers are in the places you fear most." Then, as if on cue, the walls of the church began to pulsate, shadows shifting wildly. I stepped back, but the ground seemed to sway, urging me forward. And that's when I heard it, a voice familiar and yearning calling my name. "Help me." Something terrible was coming, and I felt it in my bones. I had to decide whether to flee or follow the haunting echo of the voice, a voice that might lead me to the truth or deeper into the darkness. I hesitated, caught between fear and the desperate need to know. The voice, so familiar, was a thread weaving through the chaos. I took a deep breath and stepped toward it. The shadows shifted, and with each step, the weight of the darkness pressed harder against my chest. "Where are you?" I called out, my voice trembling. In response, the darkness thickened, wrapping around me like a fog. I could barely see as I moved, but the sound of my heartbeat drowned out the silence. The flickering light from the open door taunted me from behind, but the voice was stronger. "Help me." It echoed again, pulling me deeper into the church. As I stepped into the nave, a sudden gust of wind blew through the sanctuary. I staggered back as the candles flared to life, illuminating the room in a warm but eerie glow. The flickering flame revealed a figure huddled in the far corner, someone familiar. "Emma!" I gasped, rushing towards her. Her face was pale, eyes wide with fear. She was knelt on the ground, trembling as if fighting against some unseen force. "Please, you have to go," she said, her voice strained. "It's not safe here." My heart sank. What is happening? I was terrified, but I needed answers. "What do you mean? Are you all right?" "No, I'm not," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He's coming for you, the man in the darkness. He's trying to keep you here." Before I could respond, the man, the traveler, re-emerged from the shadows, a wicked smile spreading across his face. How sweet. A reunion. His eyes glinted with malice. But I think she's right. It would be wise to leave, before it's too late. I stood my ground. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded, feeling a sudden surge of anger. "What do you want from us?" "From you?" He chuckled, stepping closer. "Only to fulfill your part of the bargain. You've already been chosen after all." The tremors in the ground intensified again, and I felt the world shifting beneath me. I turned back to Emma, desperate for reassurance. "Can we escape together?" "No!" She looked at me with panic. "You can't, you don't understand. If you leave, you'll never have the chance to break the curse." The man smirked. "She's right. The only way to find your answers is to face what you fear. You're tied to this place now." I felt the walls closing in, shadows swirling around us like a storm. "I won't let you control my fate," I shouted, standing between the man and Emma. "I'll face whatever I must to stop this." He stepped aside, gesturing theatrically as if inviting me further into the darkness. "Then, by all means, continue on your quest. But remember, not all paths lead to light." Before I could react, the ground shook violently, throwing me against a nearby pew. The last thing I saw before everything blurred was Emma reaching out toward me, her eyes filled with terror. Then everything went dark. I gasped as darkness consumed me, the air thick and suffocating. It felt like drowning, but without water. Sounds faded. The only thing I could hear was my own panicked breath. Just when I thought I might never breathe again, the weight lifted and light flooded back in. I blinked rapidly, trying to adjust. I was lying on the cold stone floor of the church, disoriented. The flickering candles still cast strange shadows against the walls, but everything felt more muted now, almost like a dream, but too vivid to be mere imagination. "Emma," I called out hoarsely, rising to my knees. There was no reply. I scrambled to my feet, heart racing. I searched the room, but she was gone. The chilling laughter of the man bounced off the high ceilings. "Oh, she's not lost, just elsewhere for now." His voice dripped with sarcasm. "You wanted to face your fears. What better place than here?" "Where did you take her?" I retorted, my hands clenched into fists. "What do you want from us?" "Such perseverance," he replied, stepping from the shadows, his features sharp and angular in the candlelight. "But it's not about what I want. It's what you need to understand. You're part of something much bigger, something far darker." I wanted to step forward, but I hesitated. "I'm not part of anything," I shot back, resentment bubbling. "You don't control me." He grinned wider, tilting his head slightly. "Ah, but you do not see the full picture. This curse binds you to the very heart of this place. The more you resist, the stronger it becomes." I faltered, the truth in his words settling uncomfortable in my gut. I could feel the shadows creeping closer, swirling in the corners of my vision. "What curse? What do you want me to do?" With a wave of his hand, the candles flickered wildly. and suddenly images floated like ghosts around the room. Sights of darkness and despair. Moments I had never seen before but felt somehow connected to. I recognized the village, the people I grew up with, and visions tugged at my memory. 3 years ago, the villagers exchanged their security for a promise from me, he explained, voice rising above the flickering chaos. But promises made in darkness come with a price. What price? I demanded, feeling the fear claw at my insides as the images twisted. My heart sank even lower as I recognized Emma's face among them, serene yet caught in a web of despair. The man leaned closer, his breath cold against my skin. Well, for you, it's simple. Face your greatest fear, and the curse can be broken. But you must decide quickly. Time is running out. I swallowed hard, dread pooling in my stomach. What if I refuse? His smile faded, revealing jagged teeth. Then you all remain trapped here, prisoners of your own making. The ground trembled again, and as fear pulsed through me, I felt my vision narrowing. I had to make a choice. Just then, something glimmering caught my eye. It was an old tarnished key lying in a dusty corner. That's when I saw it. The key shimmered with a light of its own, as if beckoning me to grasp it. My heart raced. What did it unlock? And how could it save Emma? I took a step toward it. I reached down to grab the key, my fingers trembling. The moment I touched it, a jolt of energy shot through me. It felt hot, as if it held secrets not yet revealed. I looked up, and the man with the chilling laughter seemed momentarily distracted, his gaze flickering to the key. "What's that?" he asked, feigning disinterest. "A relic from the past? A tool for your uncertain future?" I held it tightly, refusing to let him diminish its significance. "If it unlocks something, I'll use it. I don't need your games anymore." My voice was steadier, bolstered by a spark of defiance. He chuckled, the sound echoing ominously. "Good luck with that, but remember, some doors are better left closed." Ignoring his warning, I searched the church, hoping for a lock that the key might fit. The images he conjured still lingered around me, specters of despair that only fueled my urgency. I spotted a heavy wooden door at the far end of the church, ancient carvings embossed on its surface. The aura around it felt oppressive, as if it held a deep, dark secret. I approached it cautiously, glancing back at him. "Is this it? Is this the key to breaking the curse?" "Perhaps," he replied cryptically, his smile now a tight line. "But what you find on the other side may not be what you expect. Are you ready to face your fears?" I took a deep breath. I had come too far to turn back. With the key in hand, I pressed it against the keyhole. My heart thundered as I felt the cool metal slip inside, the sensation sending a wave of adrenaline through me. The door creaked open slowly, revealing an inky darkness beyond. The room beyond was vast and empty, save for a single candle flickering weakly on a stone pedestal. As I stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind me with a resounding thud, plunging me into a deeper shade of black. I turned to face the only source of light, and as I did, I sensed change in the air. It was dense and electric, as if the shadows were waiting for me to make a move. The flickering candle cast moving shadows that danced along the walls, almost mocking me. Then I heard a whisper, a faint voice that sounded eerily like Emma's, mingling with the echo of the man's laughter. "Help me, please." Panic surged through me. "Emma!" I shouted, my voice trembling. The candle flickered violently, illuminating a shape emerging from the darkness, an apparition that bore a striking resemblance to Emma, but looked distorted, trapped in a haze of despair. Suddenly, the shadows lunged at me, swirling wildly, and I felt my breath quicken. "What's happening?" I gasped, backing away. "I told you." The man's voice echoed from the other side of the door, its chilling presence still lurking. "Face your fears, or be consumed by them." I felt my resolve wavering. Emma's distorted figure reached out, fingers stretching toward me as the shadows closed in. I had to act fast. I had to find some way to save her. Then it hit me. What if this key can unlock her? I thought desperately. I grabbed it again, heart racing. But what if I was wrong? The choice blazed through my mind. I had to be brave, or risk losing her forever. In that moment I understood. The key wasn't just a key. It was my choice. With a deep inhale, I focused on the key in my hand. My heart raced as I approached the apparition resembling Emma, the embodiment of my fears and anxieties. "I'll get you out," I declared, though the words felt fragile against the weight of the shadows around me. I held the key firmly, willing it to have the power I hoped it did. I stepped forward, reaching out toward her. "Emma, hold on. I'll find a way to unlock whatever darkness is binding you." But as I spoke, the shadows grew bolder, swirling around her with force, threatening to devour everything in sight. "Help me!" she cried out hopelessly, and the sound twisted in my gut. I couldn't falter now. I pressed the key closer, uncertain of how or if it would work. There had to be a lock somewhere, a piece of this intricate puzzle that I had yet to see. The darkness throbbed in time with my heartbeat, as if it could sense my growing resolve. "You can't save her." A whisper coiled through the room. The man's voice echoed, but I pushed past the doubt creeping into my mind. It only fueled my determination. "No," I shouted, firming my grip on the key. "You won't keep her. You won't take any more from us." Then I felt it. The warmth of the key radiating from my hand, pulsing with energy. Steeling myself, I turned toward the shadows, willing them to retreat. "What is your price?" I demanded, my voice commanding, though my heart raced. "What you fear most," the shadows chanted around me, voices overlapping in a dissonant chorus. I recalled how I got here, my relentless pursuit of the truth, plunging headfirst into history that was better left buried. The key was a threshold to both answers and devastation. Suddenly, Emma's figure flickered again, her image momentarily clear, but she was still curled in the shadows. "Please," she begged, her hands reaching out toward me, desperate. "Don't listen to them." It propelled me forward. Focusing on her, I plunged the key into the flickering darkness surrounding her. For the briefest second, it felt like fire coursed through my veins as I heard the click of a lock. But the darkness reacted violently, twisting and distorting. "Stop," it screamed, recoiling at my defiance. I felt the force surge through me. I had to do this. "You can't break the pact." The voices wailed, growing increasingly frantic. But resolve anchored me. "Yes, I can," I shouted, feeling the vibration of power the key had awakened. "I won't be another pawn in your game." I pressed harder, the key sinking deeper into the shifting shadows. This was my moment. I had to see it through, no matter the cost. The shadows recoiled as if burned. The key erupted into a blinding light, filling the room with a warm glow. Emma's distorted figure froze, her face illuminated with recognition. "Yes," she cried amid the chaos swirling around us. In that moment, the shadows unfurled, and I saw them. Flickers of the past, the village's pain and turmoil. Each sorrowful memory poured forth, but they weren't meant to trap. They were remnants, seeking solace. I understood now. The pact wasn't only a curse, it was also a plea for release. With renewed strength, I pulled the key free, and the apparition of Emma stepped out of the shadows, her form stabilizing, eyes wide as she pulled herself from despair. "You did it," she gasped, her voice trembling with disbelief, yet full of hope. But the man's laughter rose again, darker than before, echoing through the chamber. "You think you've won. This curse will never be broken. Others will come, curious, unknowing, just like you." The flickering lights dimmed, shadows creeping once more, threatening to draw us both back into the depths. "We have to go," I yelled over the chaos, grabbing Emma's hand and leading her toward the doorway. The way back, a light shining there. "But the curse," she started, terror flickering across her face. "It ends here for us," I insisted, pulling her by the hand as we dashed toward the door. The shadows writhed, unable to follow as we broke through the threshold, light engulfing us, pulling us out into the fresh night air. The heat of flames illuminated the sky with a feral glow, but we were free, separated from the grasp of that darkness. We stumbled out, breathless, hearts pounding with the strength of survival. It was quiet outside, the village seemingly suspended in time. The flames danced in the distance, painting the horizon reddish gold. It was chaotic yet beautiful in its own way. Life still held. But I could feel something was still left behind, lurking in the shadows. There were whispers that echoed faintly, promises unfulfilled. My gaze drifted back toward the church. A sense of unease simmered beneath the surface, a question that would linger. "Did we really escape?" Emma asked, scanning the horizon with wide, fearful eyes. I wanted to tell her that everything was all right, that we were truly free. But something deep within me hesitated. "I don't know," I admitted quietly. "The key. It has a mind of its own." I turned my gaze toward the flickering glow of the fire, and a thought lingered in my mind. We had escaped, but the Pact had not been forgotten. The remnants of the past were still there, hidden among the embers of our memories. Would we be drawn back in again? As the darkness of the night settled in, I couldn't help but wonder whether the past would always haunt us, or if we had indeed crossed a line that would forever draw us back into its depths. I moved forward, knowing it wasn't over, and in the quiet spaces of my mind, those questions remained unanswered, hanging like shadows at dusk.